kind of give a disclaimer before we really get into things, because we're talking about military. Sometimes military gets a little bit sensitive because of certain discussions that you have and certain ways that people feel about military and what goes on in the military and how it all works. So I want to put a disclaimer out there because we have people who are prior service, people who have been deployed. We have certain topics that we're talking about, but I can't be assured of the topics that we'll go into. So I just want to go ahead and put that disclaimer out there that if you are a person that is sensitive to dealing with military things and issues with that, if you don't like it, log off. Just log off. If you don't want to hear it, log off, please and thank you. We're not here to be negative, not here to bash. We're just here to have a good time and some good conversation, a couple libations and things of that nature. So tonight, I know a couple of topics that was set that wanted to be talked about was integration into the family when it comes back from deployments and training and things of that nature, and definitely wanted to hit on sexual assault in the military. So other than that, I just want to kind of just like have some good conversation, kind of find out a little bit about each one of my friends that are sitting on here with me, what y'all did in the military, what aspect you played in it, and then we'll go into topics. So being we have it set up this way, we'll go with Mr. Ace of Hearts first, and then we'll go from there. So Mr. Ace of Hearts, your role in the military, like what did you do? What was your job? How did you like it? Things of that nature, and go.
Okay, I'm Ace of Hearts. I'm a retired Air Force veteran. I did 20 years in the Air Force, and I was a maintenance data systems analyst, which is a fancy term for a statistician.
I needed to know. I was about to ask. You know, I was about to ask. I was about to say,
Right, right, right. I
let me
got
know
you.
parts. So, what did you do, sir?
I was a statistician. I kept the stats on aircraft data.
Ah,
So the flights that they took, you know, the reliability of the systems and everything. I made sure that commanders had the information that they needed in order for their planes to fly and fight and win, as we used to say in the Air Force. So
okay. And you were in for how long?
20 years.
20 years. Okay. Sheesh. Okay. Miss Love from Within.
I was 5 years in the Army, and I was also an 8-year Air Force spouse. Um, I was in Fort Lewis, Washington.
Hi,
We
Tonyo.
moved to Omaha, Nebraska, Bellevue area. We were stationed there for a while. And then he retired, and we moved here to Missouri. So,
Sheesh. Okay.
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know you were a spouse. I don't think I ever remember us having that conversation. So that'll
Mm-hmm.
be good. That'll be good. Okay, because I thought I was gonna be the only spouse on here. So okay, all right, all right. I feel better now. I feel better. Mr. Jonathan, go on ahead, sir, if you would.
I had to unmute myself, but I'm reporting for duty, ma'am, and everybody. Uh, Stationed here in California. Obviously, you can see from my uniform, I am still serving in the United States Army. And I've been in for total, because I got out of the military twice, swore I was never coming back, but look at me. What, what am I doing here? I don't know. So I've been in total for about, for about what? It'll be 24 years in January. So I guess, because I spoke about this earlier before this podcast or before this episode was live. I know I don't look like it. I still get carded, and I guess I am becoming one of those old people I used to talk about when I was younger. And then so I first joined back in January 1996. 20-year-old kid, drop out. Plus, I could have swore like my recruiter even told me that the uniform was going to get the girls, anyways. But so,
You
but
weren't.
I after but then I just figured like I would just let me just go back in, let me actually serve, let me actually make something myself, and even like establish, I guess like a kind of like a career path, or even or even continue life lessons, like, if you will. So um, years later, and at least like what, twice to Iraq and once to Afghanistan, and then even with even now, it's like I get to be a cadre, and never even my wildest imagination I'll even be teaching, let alone even managing a team of instructors. Cadre life at a very difficult course.
Shit. It's a lot. Thank you for 24 years, because that's a long time. Ray.
It is a long time, but because I reenlisted indefinitely in the United States Army back in 2017, retention or as career counselor. They're the people that see about different career options, and it's like to where like the only option that was offered to me was the in-depth. So I was kind of thought to myself, well, I've been in this long, but right now my MRD, which is what it's called nowadays, which only applies for career soldiers as me. I guess that's how the Army sees me now, is May 31st of 2035. But I really don't see myself being in the military by then. I just don't see it. But then, so it's like I'm just kind of back and forth, whether to retire from the Army and maybe move on with life. But then again, it's like I'm trying to become a first sergeant, I'm trying to become a sergeant major, and I'm trying out for just whatever onward and upward things.
Awesome. Yeah. Mr. Ray for the evening, because that's because I'm gonna get on you like for like a long time. The fact that your name been changed to Ray from Ralph and Black Hulk, so I'm gonna be on you for a minute on this whole Ray thing, just so you know. We gonna have this conversation like for a long time, just so you know. But go ahead, Ray. Go ahead. I'm listening.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ralph. I served in the Marine Corps for 4 years, starting in 1990 to 1994. I took a 5.5-month break, and then I went into the Army, all combat arms, all infantry. So I served collectively for 26 years. I retired in 2017 as a ROTC cadre at Fort Valley State University. Multiple deployments, multiple training events, held different billets. I was also a drill sergeant. I was an equal opportunity leader. Was an operations NCOIC for several military joint task force, things of that nature. So I've been on several deployments throughout the war on terrorism. Been to Iraq once, Afghanistan twice, the Horn of Africa. And like I said, everything was all combat related. But I've also had different billets within the military that took me outside of my comfort zone as an 11 Bravo.
11 Bravo is
Infantry.
okay.
Infantry.
Just making sure. 311. Yeah, it is. You're right. My bad. I kind of got lost on that. My bad. I remember now. Back on track.
Also called grunts.
Oh yeah, grunts and grunts
Yeah,
and
yeah,
oh god, what is it? Grunts and pogues.
Right. Yeah. So grunts are considered the dumb jocks of the Army, but I just got to put this disclaimer out there that there's a lot of people in the infantry that are some of the smartest individuals that you'll run across.
Facts, they are, but they try, y'all. They do try the grunts a lot, but they're smart. There's a lot of smart ones, but they try, y'all. Miss Lisa, Miss Lady, let me hear it, because y'all, I'm gonna need y'all. We're gonna go through where to find people, but I'm gonna need y'all to go find Miss Lisa, because she's not a game at all. Not even a little bit. Nobody on here is a game, but she's definitely not a game. Y'all need to go find her on TikTok. But go ahead, Miss Lady. Where can tell us about your military career?
All right. Well, obviously, as you can tell by the shirt, Marine Corps. I was in from 86 to 94. So I feel like based on all the dates that everybody gave, my dates a little bit back there, but we're not going to get into that. And since nobody else said this, I will go ahead and say it. You know, when you talk about my job, I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Oh.
Okay, really, I was in comm, so y'all can talk about us, but you can't talk without us, all that fun stuff. So I spent a significant amount of my time out in the field. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So, yep.
Me
Like I
too.
said, did
A lot of
did
time
8
in the
years?
field.
Say again.
A lot of time in the field.
Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely. Right. Yeah. So planned on career, had some health issues that made that change for me, especially from being exposed to a lot of chemicals in Korea and at my last duty station, working around helicopters and airplanes and everything. So didn't end up being a career, but I did 8 years and hoorah.
Sheesh. Well, thank y'all for sharing y'all's experience and y'all time and what y'all did. I want to really get into the topics because I'm really, because I was a spouse. I'm not gonna lie, like y'all know, again, TikTok runs my brain. So I end up a lot of times, I end up with like a lot of people who are prior service, are in, who follow me just because, like TikTok is so vast, right? It's so wide. So you just never know who you're gonna talk to. But I've ended up coming in contact with a lot of like retired service members and things of that nature. And I super honor all of y'all who have been in, who are serving. Because, fun fact, Lady J tried to join. She did. She did try to join. She tried to join Army. I did. But they did a urine test and MEPS instead of a blood test. So when I got to St. Louis, they found out I was pregnant and I had to go home. So I tried. Y'all. I tried. But they was like, no. So, all right, it is what it is. But I like to have this conversation because I do have some kind of tie to it and it does kind of hold strong to me. So let's start with integration back into family life. When it comes to, now, I don't know if all of you guys have been married, but I can imagine that integration back into family life in general can be an issue when it comes to being deployed and doing trainings and things of that nature. So I'd really like to talk about that because I've heard so many different stories from so many different types of people. Like I've heard a lot of spouses who have been like, yo, my spouse comes home and he wants to control everything. And he like, oh, we got to deal with the money this way and we got to do this and we got to do that. And for me, fun fact, I never dealt with anything like that. Like it was like integration was just like, okay, you left and then you came back home and then it just was what it was. So if I could, I'd like to get you guys' views, opinions, ideas, your experiences on what it was like for you guys to integrate. And then of course, left from within you integrating back into the family as a service member and then also being a spouse at the same time. So that I really like to talk about that if we could. I don't know if anybody has like this like dying urge to go first. If you want to, I think Ralph. We'll start with Ralph first. We'll start with Ralph first because this was Ralph's like topic for real. He was like, I'd really like to talk about that. We're gonna start with Ralph and then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, like I said, I've been on several tours for the war on terrorism, being deployed for at least 9 months to 12 months at a time. I can remember my son being born in 2001, and basically from that point on, if I do the math, I was absent from his life roughly 6.5, 7 years from the deployments that went on from 2001 on and me on. So some of the hardships about reintegration and back into the family is that you got a deployment clock where you're counting the 10 to 12 a month that you're gone. Your family is back home and that clock and all events are actually continue to happen. So one thing I had from a senior leader, one little note I got from him was that you can't run your household from 3,000 miles, 4,000 miles away. No matter how hard you try, you got Skype, you got phones, you got all email, all that good stuff. Is that your better half is at home, managing the fact that you're gone, managing your children, education, the fact that they're dealing with that you're gone, and then the nature of your job. There could be that knock at the door with the chaplain and the person that's on that detail that has to report that your soldier, Marine, Airman, or seaman didn't make it. So that part alone is a stressor on the family when you're gone. Most of the people that I work with had to detach themselves from their family in order to focus on the mission that they're doing abroad. So when you come back, that integration period is paramount. There's a whole bunch of things that went on back home. There's a whole bunch of things that happened while you were forward deployed. Those things meet up. So that communication between that grace period, that integration is very important to feel each other out. So it's feeling out your spouse, that's feeling out your kids, whatever happened back there at your best, you shouldn't try to bring it back with you, but that's not always the case. Mm-hmm. So my experience as a senior leader upon returning from deployments is that those times were the biggest sparks of discontent, abuse, alcoholism, and just all around violence because of trying to get back and trying to force the situation. So if your household was running a certain way while you were gone and you're not privy to the information, or things are not coming back or going your way as soon as you get back, there's always going to be a friction point. So actually being a manager of soldiers, a leader of soldiers, that was one of the hot spots that I had to deal with just about every deployment. So that's why it's something that's near and dear to me, because I experienced it myself, had to manage through it, and then actually had to counsel other people through those situations. So the Army has, or the military has, certain resources that can help you integrate, but then there's always a stigmatism to seeking help in the military. It's like, so if you go get help, then that means you're weak.
That's right.
That's how you get injured. If you get injured, you go and get help. You get put on light duty or whatever the case may be. But your peers, higher chain of command, look at you like, hey, you're non-operational at this point. You're not worth, the effort at this point. Or some people, what they call riding a profile means, oh, they're malingering.
Yep.
And then you as the individual don't want to get put in that number because you get treated a certain way when you're not above or out there with your peers. You kind of get shunned. So somebody is about the lifestyle of being a military member, because some people treat it like a job. The military is actually a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. If you treat it like a job, you're always going to be dissatisfied. You're never going to put forward your best effort. You're never going to be a good leader, and you're never going to put your full focus on things that's going to help you train, fight, and survive. You're just going to be there collecting a paycheck. And there's people that accept it as a lifestyle. They know the things that they gave up, and they accept it, and they move on and they lead. Whether they're a subordinate leader or there's somebody high up, they're all in. And so you take the stigmas of being weak because you sought help and then try to reintegrate and be functional, or you're on the other side of, now I'm just going to duck and cover and just try to, mope through it. So that's where I try to get in with people and try to tell them, hey, look, if you're hurt, go get fixed. Because at the end of the game, you're still going to have those injuries and those wounds, and then you're all on your own trying to facilitate your healing, either it be physically or mentally.
Facts.
And so that's my 2 cents about it.
I'm listening. Anybody else?
I'll say that I neglected to say in the beginning that I've actually married 2 Marines. So yeah, I've been a spouse as well as active duty. Right. And I stayed in the field most of the time. So in the beginning of my 8 years, my first marriage, we transitioned where he had just gotten out and I was within my first 2 years and spent, like I said, a significant amount of time being in the field. And that was a strain. It's a strain to be gone for, I mean, he understood military life, meaning I may be scheduled to be gone for 30 days, but for the good of the Corps, if that means we're going to roll you over to the next exercise, then it's not like I can. Thank you. I would like not to right now. I'd appreciate going home. That's not an option. So
How that works.
right, that absolutely put a strain. And then just the feeling of, I think, transitioning to becoming a dependent for him was definitely having to do that mind switch and understand I'm now a dependent of my wife, who is a Marine. So that's probably a segment for another show to get into how that affected relationship wise. But
Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like, I was kind of
yeah,
curious, like how, like because usually it is the service member is usually a male, so like
yeah.
how is that for men to become a dependent as opposed to being the service member? So yes, that is we have to do a pop up on that when
We have to do it. Absolutely. So, right. Yeah. Like, if anybody knows in terms of in the Marine Corps, when they talk about the few and the proud, the women were the fewer and the prouder. So there's even less of us. But then 5-6 years later, when I changed jobs and added on another MOS, at that time I was single. Like I said, different conversation, but right at that time I was single and my daughter was young, and having to leave her I was gone for 4 months, but it took a very long time for her to stop saying I was gone for 4 years, because in her mind, as 2.5, 3 years old, mommy's in the military, mommy was gone for a couple of years. So trying to drive from North Carolina back to Boston, flying through on the weekends to see her and spend time and the rest of that. So coming back, it was different. It's not the same in terms of having to come back into a marriage and into a house full, but just helping her to understand I'm back. I actually never really left you. I mean, you were in fantastic hands, but just getting back into the routine and understanding you're not asking somebody else, can you get some juice now? I'm still mom. That has not changed. It's difficult. It's difficult to leave kids when they're young and going through that formative periods of time and having it. It definitely took a while, like I said, for her to realize I was only gone for a few months, but it struck me how much that affects children, that you think it's okay. You think you Skype, you do. I mean, this was obviously before Skype. This was before FaceTime. So I was making phone calls and, she'd talk to me for a few minutes and then put the phone down and walk away. And I'd be like, okay. But
yeah,
it
as a
is.
mom, especially. Yeah,
It is.
I would agree. I think as a mom and then being as a military member, I can imagine that was tough. I know for me, when my service member was away, I would I keep pictures, I keep family pictures on all the walls. So I would literally take the kids around and I'm like, look, there's daddy. Do you see daddy? Like he's right there, and we were in a time when Skype was real big. So he was able to call and Skype and things like that. But I was so pushing the okay, you can't forget him. You can't forget him. You can't forget him. You can't forget him. That like literally every time we pass a picture, like I'm walking through holding the baby and I'm like, look, do you see daddy? See daddy? That's daddy. Remember you guys did this and this. And because it is hard for kids to grasp and understand because they're so young. They don't understand that aspect. Like you said, like and I hate to say it. I always do. I hate to say it, but kids are like puppies.
Yes.
And I know people are like, that's so rude, but they are. Kids are like puppies, like for real. Like you have to train them, right? And so like they don't have this idea of what time is. So for kids, time is like, for you, it's like 5 minutes, but for them, it's like you've been gone for like a whole 3 days. No, I was gone. I took the trash out. What are you talking about? I was just taking the trash out. You didn't determine it was 3 days and all I did was take the trash out. What in the world? So for deployment and for them to be gone for so long, and I don't think people really get that even though you're Skyping and you're having these one-on-one conversations with them, that one-on-one time with them and that connection and that bond of you actually being with them, I feel like that is so key. And it sucks because that's you guys' job, to be away a lot of times. Your job is to be away. Your job is to train. And while I am super appreciative of you guys doing that job, because like I said, like I was a spouse at one point in time. And I appreciated what he did when he was gone because of the fact that, like, I didn't have to do it, right? I didn't have to be away. He did it so that I didn't have to. He did it so that our family could survive and our family could be okay. But with that, there was a sacrifice of his time with our children. So it sucks, and I commend y'all. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say about the whole like integration of family. I don't know if like any of you guys had like issues with integration with like I've heard a lot of stuff. Like I've heard stuff about finances and like, oh God, no, he came home and he wanted to like he was like, no, I got to do all the bills. Like, I don't know if you guys had anything else other than kids when it came to integration, or just if it was just rough for you as a service member to integrate, because I know that's difficult too, right? Because you get so used to you being in this space. Tonio said, he was with like these guys for like 12 months at a time. And then to have to integrate back home, like with your family, you've been doing something for like 12 months of time or 7 months of time a certain way. And now you got to come home and it's like, no, don't put those shoes there. Please don't do that. Can you make sure you put those clothes in that basket? Hey, did you wipe that counter? You know what I mean? Like that's got to be hard too when it comes to integration. Like when your family, you're used to doing things a certain way. And now you have to come back into this cohesive relationship with people and family and things of that nature. And then it's a change for you. So I don't know if that was an issue for any of you guys. Maurice, I think you were like raising your hand, but I'm not sure.
My situation was a little different because I wasn't married necessarily when I was deployed, the 2 times that I was deployed. But I did have a girlfriend, and being away for, 90 days, 120 days, whatever the deployment time was, put a strain on our relationship from the standpoint that, you can't just pick up the phone and talk every day, or at least I couldn't. We had restrictions on that. And it led to our relationship, breaking up because from what I believe, there was some infidelity in the relationship. And then trying to come back to my normal life with the girlfriend that I had broken up with, and she's trying to, trying to salvage the relationship. It became a issue. A couple of attempts, she tried to take her life. Just stuff that I don't think. Yeah, exactly. She tried to drive her car into a lake. Just several things that I believe, had I not been deployed, probably wouldn't have occurred. And it was definitely difficult trying to come back and resume a normal life after being gone for such an extended period of time. And like Tonio mentioned, you build a camaraderie, you build a rapport with the people that you're deployed with. So reintegrating means breaking down one relationship and now going back and trying to fix another. So I can see where some of those difficulties come in.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think a lot of times what I learned as being a spouse, what I learned a lot of times is that a lot of these people who pick their spouses,
We could write a book on that.
because so like I was stationed in Hawaii. So those of you who have been stationed in Hawaii know what it's like when they pick some of them spouses. Okay. And in this day and age, y'all know what I'm talking about. That's why y'all are laughing. So for those of y'all who don't know what I'm talking about, y'all go hit the strips of Waikiki and y'all see them chick. Listen, for y'all military members that's out there, listen, or y'all out there, listen, anybody, y'all see them chicks with the clear shoes, walk away, run.
You're acting up right now.
I'm being honest. Keep going. You already know if she got the clear shoes on. Go ahead. Exit stage left. Okay, exit stage left. But I've heard so many things with the contract marriages and the situations where oh, I met this chick on TikTok or Facebook or whatever, and then they don't know anything about these people. And you really, what I will say is, what I learned about being a military spouse, what really, really like kind of gave me a lot of my backbone was that on his first deployment, we were just dating, like we were boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever. But he called me 7 times in 7 months. That was all he could do, was call me 7 times in 7 months. And then he wrote letters or whatever. We wrote back and forth to each other. But what I learned was that there were going to be times when I wasn't able to call. There was going to be times where I wasn't going to be able to hear from him. And I just had to learn how to deal with that. Whereas there were some other people that I learned, some other spouses who they got calls all the time. At some point, I was kind of like, well, dang, you just can't. But I learned that no, just depending on where you are, you just can't do certain things. So if you set yourself up in this idea that you know what, they might not be able to call for the next month. They might not be able to call for the next couple of weeks, the next 2 months. It set me into a space where I was more prepared. A lot of these folks are not prepared to be in military marriages. They're not. So they're not ready for, like, they don't know how to reintegrate. They don't know how to even deal in military relationship because they're so expecting that. So you're calling me, you're going to call tomorrow? No, babe, I can't call tomorrow because like I don't have phone time. I have things that I have to do. I'm going to be out in the field. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. Like I knew people who would get mad because, as we talked about, pogues, right? They was able to be home. They was able to do calls. I had folks that was infantry spouses that was like, oh, I'm so mad because so-and-so heard from her husband the other day. How you mad? You knew what you set yourself up for when you said I do. You knew he was infantry. How you mad about that? So the whole integration thing, the whole marriage thing and girlfriend, boyfriend thing and all of that, I feel like you really have to know that you have someone who is really strong enough to live this lifestyle, because it is. Military is a lifestyle, and you have to have somebody that's strong enough to live the lifestyle. Because if you don't have nobody that's strong enough to live this lifestyle, then you should probably just not. You should probably walk away. And leave it alone. Jonathan and Love from Within, I don't know if you guys have something to give to that before we move on.
I'll go ahead and go. I got out in 04, and I married a dude that was just out of the Navy. What, 6 months I married him? That's 6 months of just knowing him, and then we just got married because he was my best friend and to get out of the barracks. So it was 04 when I got out, and when I came back from deployment, like all of our money was gone. And I literally had to go and work at Pizza Hut for 3 months because he refused to go and get a job so we could build our money back up in our account. So then fast forward, I get out in 04, I've been pregnant, and we didn't work out. Ended up marrying a second guy, and he was Air Force, and he would come home and he would drink every night. He was a chronic alcoholic. He's dead now because of it, but Air Force and his trauma from his childhood, they do not help spouses. Do not go to a military therapist. Don't do it. They're not going to help your marriage. They actually made it worse. They made his drinking worse. They made him worse as a person. And our communication was nothing, because all that he would do when he came home was drink as much whiskey as he could fit down his throat in 2 hours. And that was our marriage and then even once he retired, they would say, well, this might be wrong, but we have to wait 3 months to get you into a specialist. We might be able to put you into rehab, but it's going to be 3 or 4 months. I'm sorry, they don't give a shit about prior service. People that are disabled from being in the military, they don't give a shit about spouses. I'm still legally married to him, and I didn't get anything from his retirement because, of course, he didn't set it up for me to receive anything. I'm lucky to get Social Security for the kids. It's just, they don't. I think it was probably the stupidest thing I ever did in my life was join the Army. And you guys can not like me for saying that, but my chain of command was bullshit. And we could complain about it. There was me and another female soldier that were assaulted. And once we got out, we had limited resources for help. And they don't really approve outside therapists. You have to go to the VA and see a therapist. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. They don't do anything to help you.
So if I could real quick, my experience
with the military,
not in any way, because that was part of why I wanted to have this conversation, because a lot of people kind of like put military on this like pedestal, right, of what it is and what they think it is and things of that nature. I don't know.
So many opportunities to help him. They knew he was beating my fucking ass, and they did nothing. Air Force did nothing. They kicked him out and said, just get out. They did nothing to protect me and my children. It was ridiculous. It was disgusting, sickening. It makes me sick to my stomach to even talk about it. It's gross. It's all about numbers and their regulations, but nothing about helping the freaking families. Don't give a shit about us.
So as a spouse, I 1000% definitely, I definitely understand that plea. Before I speak to that, though, I would like to speak to the therapist. I'm not sure what kind of therapist you guys dealt with. I've dealt with a military therapist, but mine was the MFLAC. So it was the military version for therapists. And I still have her. Fun fact, Lady J still has a therapist, okay? Sometimes she needs somebody to bounce her ideas off the wall with, okay? Because, sometimes my brain, it get to overflowing and stuff. So listen, I'm not ashamed to say that I see somebody every once in a while. I was a little bit at first, but I'm not anymore now. But she's amazing. She's amazing. She has helped me a lot. I think sometimes some people are not a good fit, but that's all I want to say about that, because I feel like you have to, I feel like even in the civilian world, sometimes you find somebody who's a counselor, a therapist, a psychologist, whatever it is, and they're
Wouldn't
just
even-
not a good fit, or they don't care because I'm just here to get this check, right?
I tried
Um,
telling them, like, okay, so I told my ex, okay, so I'm not getting help for our marriage right now. They aren't helping us for what I'm thinking that we need. He's like,
Yes.
well, yes, they are, because he has very type A personality. So he would have never helped pay for something because I wasn't. It was to that point. I'm sorry, it's going too far. But it was at that point in our marriage, I had no control of our finances. And the Air Force knew that I went and called his first sergeant and told him everything. And I said, I'm at my wit's end. How can you guys help us? And he was like, just keep going to the Air Force hospital where you've been going. And I said, but that's the only therapist that you guys have set us up with. Is there any others? Well, and then I called and they said maybe like 2 to 3 months. And by that time, I had already left them the first time. So it's like they kind of set your marriage up to fail.
And so here's the thing. And that's why I say, like, I think it depends. I think it depends on kind of the people that you deal with, because I've talked to Jonathan, I've talked to Ralph. I know I've talked to Ace of Hearts. I hadn't got a chance to talk to Lisa about it. And I know I've talked to it on live. A lot of times it depends on like your chain of command. A lot of times it's leadership. It's not necessarily the branch. It's not necessarily all of those things. Sometimes it's just, you just end up with bad leadership and you end up in bad spaces with people who don't care as much as they should. And I felt you. I feel you, because I've been in that space where I have felt like I know I've told Jonathan, I know I've told Ralph, and I know I've told Ace of Hearts, and I know I've said it on TikTok Live. The military at times has very much felt like, listen, because what it is it's the needs of the military.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
it's the needs of the military. And I have absolutely heard from commanders, mass sergeants, sergeant majors, first sergeants, we care. It's family
They don't
first.
care.
It's
They don't
family
give a
first. But the thing about it is it's not that the military doesn't care. And that's the biggest thing, is that's what I would like to push out there, is that it's not that the military doesn't care. I don't think it's the leadership. But I'm gonna go with Maurice first, and then we'll go to Lisa, because Maurice he was like doing this for a minute, and I know he don't got a lot of time, and he really can speak to the VA because he worked with the VA. So go.
So first of all, the military doesn't generally have jurisdiction. That's a municipality issue if he was abusive to you. I'm sorry those things happened to you too. I don't want to gloss over that. But
his actual chain of command didn't care. And then once we went to go and get help, it was like the help wasn't there.
But I'm
wasn't
going to
visible.
explain that their job and their mission is to fight wars and win wars. So and they give that lip service, they do, and I'm not trying to minimize any of that. But the abuse that occurred that you were speaking of, that's a city problem. That's when the cops get involved, the community gets involved, and then the military can act upon that. Could they take them out of the house legally? Probably not until a judge in the area where you were put a restraining order in place or he was arrested. And the reason why I know this is because it occurred to me. I had a domestic violence situation in my first marriage. A restraining order was placed on me by the municipality where we lived at. I was removed from the home, and then the military could step in and incrementally do some things. But to your point that they didn't care, it may or may not be that they cared or didn't care. It's just that their hands are tied by certain things that the military just can't go in and act. You know what I mean? Until the authorities, the local authorities, are brought into a situation.
They were though, and nothing was done still.
Okay, and I don't know your situation. I'm not trying to say that there was or it wasn't, but I just know from my own personal situation that generally that's how that goes. And then as far as the care is concerned, after military care, the VA is not set up for families. It's set up for the service member who served. And I understand that families are an integral part of all of those things. But the VA is not set up to take care of the whole entire family. It's there for the service member once they have been released from active duty. That's all I have for that.
Lisa.
Well, I can definitely attest to the fact that you can have a really bad command, and you can have a bad command that does not take the proper steps necessary to support. So in my first marriage, there was an incident that we had, and when I went to speak to my command, they told me, well, you're a Marine. You should know how to protect yourself. Just go home and work it out. So that was the mindset also in the 80s. And sadly, a lot of the mindset that there is now also, where it's looking at protecting those who are protecting the country, which I definitely feel when you're saying that, yes, as a military member, that we should be protected, and it shouldn't make a difference. And oftentimes that's not the case. It is for appearances. And if the optics don't look good, to have to recognize that there are instances of domestic violence, intimate partner violence within that unit, within that branch of the service, it doesn't look good. And that goes into the politics and the funding and all the rest of the things there. And I mean, as a retired social worker, I can absolutely say, first of all, big ups. Counseling is for everybody, 100%. I refer to that as my good girlfriend that I pay a copay to. So, right, absolutely. But every counselor is not good, and everyone doesn't understand, especially what it's like in military lives, and how it is when you're going through, like in your situation, it was too military, love from within. You're in the service, he was in the service. I don't know if you were out at that time when
I was out. Yeah.
You
I was a spouse. I was out.
Right. But you were still a veteran, which means that there should still be services provided, one as a spouse, but also the veteran. And again,
that's where I'm getting at. There is no help for either.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of what we're seeing now, because things now people are putting them out on TikTok, things are being recorded more and more, and people are being more outspoken, especially women, about experiences that we have had. We're not being stifled, and we are bringing this up, and it is bringing to light that there are incredible changes that need to be made, and you cannot expect, I can speak for myself, you can't expect me as a military member to give my best when I know that my people don't have my back. If my command does not have my back, if I don't feel that I can come and tell you what's going on, and just like Jonathan, you were saying, it's like it's perceived as being weak if you have to, I'm not sure who it was, but perceived as being weak if we go to sick call, something is wrong with, that was Ray, something is wrong with us. In that same sense, if we reach out for help and say, I need help with this, I can't do this by myself. And that's going to make me a better Marine. That's going to make me a stronger Marine if you give me the services that I need. And it's oftentimes it's not there, because that's not the budget. That's not the operations and the plan. Just forward march and suck it up and keep it moving.
Thanks. Ray.
Just to dovetail off what Lisa was saying, and what I initially started out with, as far as the stigma with going to get help. I remember coming off my last combat deployment from Afghanistan, and we were what they call reverse cycle integration. Basically, that's just coming back off deployment, and they had someone from mental health set up after you're going through your reverse. Okay, it's called reverse SRP. So basically, you before you deploy, you go through all your medical stuff, make sure you got all these shots. You go through administrative stuff, your will and BD-93 and all the entitlements that go to your family, just in case you're done. You do the same thing in reverse when you get back clear. There was a mental health professional, a major, I remember, and she asked me, "Did you want to seek counseling due to anything that you experienced on deployment?" I remember a buddy of mine, I was in operations at the time, so I was one of the last people to redeploy. He went to the mental health counselor and he was going to apply for the asymmetric warfare group. And he told me that he got disqualified because he went to go see mental health counseling after coming off of deployment.
Exactly.
And so myself, I was looking at going that route as well. And I pumped my brakes on going to see a mental health counselor because I didn't want to get disqualified for going to see someone. It's like, you just going to put a stop break in my career because I went to go see somebody to talk about what I experienced. And they put that block there. So your younger soldiers see their leaders not going to go do this. They emulate what they see. They copy what they see. And they're like, well, Sarge didn't go talk to, the quack or whatever. So I'm not going to go either. That sets a reverse process. It stops people from doing things because, okay, why did they not go? Why did they refuse it? And I'm here to say that there's nothing wrong with going to seek help. Sometimes you got to get stuff off your chest. And if it's all balled up, at some point in time, it's just going to expand, and there's not a time, date, or place that energy is going to get released. And normally, that's against people that you love. They get the brunt of all that stuff that's held inside. They get that versus the people that it needs to be directed to, or the situation it needs to be directed to because you didn't have that outlet or you refused to take it. And then at the end of the day, even with that MFLAC, it depends on who's in that seat and who's qualified to actually deal with those situations. Being out of the military now and actually talking to some people, counseling wise, there are some people that can't identify with anything. No battle trauma, no toxic leadership, abandonment issues. I mean, I got blown up in Iraq and none of my leadership came to check on me when I came back because they heard the report of no one was actually physically wounded, but my vehicle took a direct hit. It was just like, go get another vehicle outfit and go back out because I wasn't physically bleeding or whatever case, but the blast trauma messed me up. I got equilibrium problems. I got hearing problems, all types of stuff. But because I looked fine, nobody cared. Nobody checked on my patrol. There was 15 other people in that patrol. We got hit going out and hit going back. And they felt the bend, just like I did. No, that's all I got to say about that.
Real quick before we continue. Good evening, sir. I didn't know you were in here. I didn't know, I needed to scroll. I don't know how long you've been here. I'm sorry if you've been sitting here for a long time. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. I'm sure you're talking to me, right, Lady J?
Yes, I am. Yes.
yeah.
I was like,
here.
whoa, wait a minute. There's somebody down there. Y'all have to forgive me. I'm not used to producing my own show, so I didn't know that I needed to scroll to see him sitting down there. So I was like, wait a minute. There's some foggy stuff down there. Oh, someone else is sitting in here. Okay. I apologize.
How y'all doing? I'm Craig, veteran in the Army. Also was a 42 Alpha, so probably an enemy of a lot of y'all. 42 Alphas don't have the best reputation of keeping up with good paperwork and benefits and all that. But yeah, I'm here for the conversation and be a listening ear and give my feedback.
Oh, so you was out there messing up paperwork?
Oh no, I said the 42 Alphas don't have a good representation. Craig Turner has a good representation. You feel me? No, I make sure I do my job correctly.
I'm just checking to see if I need to kind of like come at you some type of way because you ain't put in no good paperwork. I don't know. I was just checking. Just making sure. But thank you for joining. I would like to, because I know we're gonna lose Maurice. I don't have you for much longer, do I?
No, a couple more minutes.
Okay, real quick before if we could kind of like divert just slightly. Ace of Hearts has kind of some information in regards to the VA and how things work. I don't know if you'd like to speak more to it, other than what you've already spoken to. Just because I think that it's good for the conversations that I've had with Ace of Hearts in regards to once you get out and things that you need to do before getting out. If we could kind of speak to that a little bit, and then we can jump back into the topics that we were on before we lose him. Because I think a lot of times people don't really know what they need to do because, of course, as Lisa said, she had really bad leadership. And I know that my transitional partner had really bad leadership in a lot of places we went, and he didn't get a lot of the information he needed before it was like, okay, it's time to get out. You know, you got things that you need to do. So he directly worked with the VA. So if you have anything that you can give in regards to whatever is needed towards the VA and steps that can be taken, you know, before it's time for you to get out and things of that nature, if you could give whatever you have in the little bit of time that I have left with you, I'd appreciate, sir.
Okay. So first of all, I think what needs to occur is everyone, when they're getting their exit physical, they need to identify everything that occurred to them while they were in the military. Make sure there's documented into their military records. That's the first thing. Because if it's not in the records, there's no way to prove that it occurred while you were in the military. They're not going to compensate you for it. Second thing is to have a copy of your military records. I know around the time when I retired from the military that there wasn't an avenue if you didn't have them, if you didn't get them before you were discharged, then you were pretty much lost. There was no way for you to get them back. Now the VA has set up a program to where they can go find your medical records. You can get that at va.gov, www.va.gov. You can go find your medical records because that's important for you filing a claim with the VA in order to get the service-connected disabilities treated by the VA, your medications free, all of those things. So those things are paramount. The biggest complaints that I heard from veterans were that the VA wasn't trying to help them, but if you do not have the documentation to back up basically the receipts to what you're saying, the VA is not just going to say, oh, well, you were in the military, we're going to take it that you had this problem while you were in the military. It needs to be documented in your medical records. So that's the most important thing. Secondly, if you're a veteran out there and you're saying the VA doesn't want to help me, all of those things, I would suggest that you go to your nearest VA and sit down and talk with a benefits specialist. And as far as I know, the people that I used to work with where I worked at the VA, they're more than happy to sit down with you and discuss what your situation is. But I'm telling you that the medical records is the big key to all of that. And then the final thing I want to share is I've heard a lot of veterans say, well, you know, I told them that I have shoulder pain. Shoulder pain is the onset of an issue. It's not what does that issue do to you at its worst point. So people like to say, I hurt my shoulder while I was in the military. First of all, it needs to be documented in your records. Then secondly, you need to tell them what the pain is. Was your shoulder dislocated? Was it broken? Was your clavicle broken? And what and how it affects your life day to day at its worst. And you know, everybody on here, I know if you've dealt with the VA, you wonder what their grading or rating system is and how they calculate all of these numbers. If you just say, I hurt my shoulder while I was on active duty, 9 times out of 10, you'll get 10% or lower for that injury just from saying, hey, I had it happen. You really have to lay out for them, especially because I will say this, and I want everybody to hear me. It's not the VA's responsibility to go look through your medical records for the things that happen to you. And I think that's the biggest misconception, as I understand it, in my dealings with veterans in the VA. If any of you have any questions real quick, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And if not, Lady J, thank you for having me on your platform.
And they can ask you and get questions. Is it from there, or do they need to find somewhere else?
No, they can find me at Instagram, Heartfelt Truth Podcast. Just go in, leave a comment. I check it every 2 or 3 days, but I'll do my best to get back to you in a timely manner if you have a question.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Sergeant First Class has a question.
I appreciate it. I'm definitely gonna get. Did you have a question for Ace of Hearts? Because he's got to go.
Well, I also want. I'm more like don't really have like any question, but just want to say to Ace of Hearts and everybody here that I'm also a former VA employee. I know I haven't spoken about it or even talked about it before, but any veteran that has dialed the number 1-800-827-1000, I used to say, thank you for calling the Department of Veterans Affairs. My name is Jonathan. How can I help you? And I had 2 positions within the Department of Veterans Affairs. A GS4 program support clerk, and also worked as a health benefits contact rep. So Ace of Hearts, I'm here, sir. All right.
Good
and
deal.
for everybody else here.
Thank you.
That's all.
Awesome. Thank you, Ace of Hearts.
Thank you all for your service.
I know you're so busy. You got appointments that you got to get.
Thank you for having me, Lady J. Thank you all for your service.
Absolutely. I can't leave without giving you a hard time. So thank you so much. I hope you have a good time. He's got some things that he's got to take care of and family he's got to see. So thank you for your time. I appreciate all of your information and efforts. And I will talk to you later.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
You too. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Awesome. I love Ace of Hearts. That's my buddy. He cracks me up. Like, we talk all the time, but he cracks me up. He's a mess. But
look like Ray has something to say.
Who has something to say?
Ray.
What's up, Ray? Ralph.
Okay. off of the end of VA benefits, or putting out information. My last job at my school was called a school certifying official, which I work with veterans dependents, and currently serving military members. And it's off of the GI Bill, which is called a Forever GI Bill now. Or we have injured or VA rated disability service members, former service members, either they were medically retired or they had a VA rating to which they can go into what they call vocational rehab, VRNE. So you're not working at this point in time, but you're seeking employment. That's another benefit that, and it's called Chapter 31. You can look it up on the internet. It works just like the GI Bill, except for you have to go to a counselor. You have a VA counselor that you go to. So they want to make sure your mental's right. You got to report your grades, and you go register for classes, and they go ahead and pay your tuition, and then you get your housing stipend. Those that receive the 100% permanent and disabled rating, your dependents are then eligible for what they call DEA, Dependents Education Assistance. It's called Chapter 35. That part right there is not the benefit for the veteran themselves, but it's for the dependent and spouse, which is kind of like a stipend. So if you're carrying 12 credit hours, then that basically is contingent of you being full-time pursuit. So then you get the is roughly $1,200 for every 30 days of training. And then you can also do what they call VA work study. So there's, different pockets of money that you can receive. And VA.gov is your best friend as far as looking at benefits. And then VA also has a Facebook page in which they do town hall meetings, and you can log in and you can see the newest information and not podcasts, but kind of like what we're doing right now. You can log in and ask questions, and they'll answer them, and they'll email you and things like that, so you can stay in the know of how the VA is changing and what benefits there are for you. But what Maurice was saying about what you divulge to the people that do your evaluations for your VA rating, it's all about your quality of life. If you ever say I'm good, my shoulder hurts, but I'm good, they're gonna write it down just as okay, they're good to go.
Thanks.
And they'll say service connected and give you 0%. But if you can't use your shoulder, you got to tell them that. Like, I drive down the highway and my shoulder's burning like I just did a max set of superset on a weight bench, and now I can't hold the steering wheel, because you got to let them know that. Because if you just say, "Oh, my shoulder hurts," it's a wrap for you. So if you get a rating and now you're trying to upgrade, it's going to be an uphill fight because they're not trying to pay you yet.
Mm-hmm.
So your medical records are definitely your responsibility. Divulging that information, regardless if you feel like, "Oh, I'm weak because I said I'm hurt," that's your responsibility. Because at the end of the day, when you check out,
Mm-hmm.
they're not trying to let you go back through and say, "This is now this and this is now that." You got to go. You got to build that medical history. And like I said, there's a difference between being hurt and faking it. So don't ever feel bad about going to tell someone that you're hurt. When you continuously do that, though, then that's riding a profile. That's malingering. That's something that is definitely frowned upon. But anybody that's wearing that uniform has got to get taken care of. Any premier athlete, they do recovery after they finish playing the game. They'll tell their trainer that they're hurting. They'll get fixed and they'll get back into the game. Service members are no different. Okay. They got to be maintained and they got to take care of themselves in order to continue to fight. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with telling yourself you're hurt. If it's here, I'm just mentally at my limit. I'm about to blow. I need to talk to somebody. I need to get off my chest. Whatever. Damn the consequences after that, because of that toxic leadership that says, "Hey, you're not a good trooper because you went to go see a mental health professional." Listen, I went to go see that mental health professional because I know you wear your ass for a hat for talking to me all crazy.
Facts.
So get help, get healed, and make sure it's documented.
Absolutely. And when everything's all said and done, we can kind of go back and give out everybody's information. So if there's anybody that wants to specifically talk to someone that was on tonight and get more information, we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to answer. I saw you, Jonathan, raise your hand, but after that, I'd like to, if we could, move to sexual assault, because I know that Lisa was really wanting to have that conversation about sexual assault, and I think that's really important, because I think that's a big thing in the military that I think kind of gets swept under the rug. So I would definitely like to have that conversation before we get too long-winded this evening. Jonathan, you had something to say?
Just also wanted to kind of, like the all too famous, whenever platoon sergeant said something about to say, "Hey, just want to caveat to whatever first sergeant says," they want to caveat to whatever the first sergeant talked about, or they want to talk about, or whatever. But also what I wanted to add is my students, sorry, so what I wanted to add is keep the line, especially for me, whenever I worked at the VA. I mean, yes, we have our call handling times. Yes, we have our procedures and the scripts and everything that we have to follow. But me, I always like to go beyond that. My door is always open. I always like to give anybody the famous rhyme. Come see me, sorry, and because my door is always open. But then also keep with your primary care team, or even secondary care team. Even if you get any kind of referral from them, keep the line of communication open. And even when Mr. Ray, when you talked about when you spoke about talking as far as the different educational certificates. Can I talk right? Certification options. And but it's like always go see the VA rep at the school. Get certified through them. Get with them. Discuss. Sit down with them. Discuss with them. Hash that out with them, and so on. Did I leave anything out? I don't know, but I just wanted to kind of add to that, Mr. Ray, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you. So now, Miss Lisa, I know that is one of your things, sexual assault. I know that's a big thing that you wanted to really definitely hit on. So I'm ready. I'm gonna let you go ahead and take the reign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad subject and it's a hard subject, obviously. I don't, of all of my friends, my sisters in arms, of course, the vast majority are Marines, since that's the branch of service that I was in. But there's only one woman that I can think of that is in my circle that did not have a direct incident with either rape or sexual assault. And it was, like I said, I was in from 86 to 94, and it was very commonplace. I think I may have talked about this in some TikToks, but even to the point of standing in a promotion formation. So we're standing tall, eyes straight ahead, and first sergeant would come, and we're supposed to stand there with our chevrons in our hands so that he can pin them on. And as it was, you're supposed to pin it on, and they would generally, thump them into each side and congratulations. And the first sergeant would ask the women, do you want me to pin it on or do you want me to kiss it on? And that was it was what it was. During room inspections, they would go through our underwear drawer and pick up and hold up things and say, make sure you wear this one tomorrow because these look good. And that was just, there was no recourse. There was nobody for us to go back and speak to, because when that's already 3 levels up in your command, who do you go to? So the mindset was very much, there really isn't too much that we can say or that we can do at this point. And it was constant. During my time, it was just something that you were supposed to get used to. We would, before running PT in the morning, we would all sit down in the grass and we would do our calisthenics before the run. And sitting in there, during that time, we had the red silky PT shorts. And after sitting in the wet grass, they would become see-through. And they would always place us at the front of the run. And they would tell us that we were motivation for the guys. So we had to make sure that we run faster to keep them motivated while they would watch us and see what designs were on the back of our underwear. So, I mean, this was a nonstop. And one of the incidents that I actually brought to my command, and this was shortly before I got out, I was told by Sergeant Major, this was after somebody grabbed me. And when I reported it, they said, well, boys will be boys. I'm sure he really didn't mean anything by it. So that has been a mindset for a very long time. And in speaking to women I know now who are still active, yes, there have been changes made. Yes, there have been some things where now that, there's different reporting procedures, but don't be fooled into thinking that the mindset from above has really come to that much of a change. I mean, it was comments even in, I know you know how to clean. You're a woman. You should know how to do these things. So, I mean, it was very much reminded that we weren't necessarily there to do a job, but we were there really for entertainment. And as I said, reporting, I have several friends that reported assault, and based on that, they were punished. Based on that, they were shunned. Based on that, it became, now the rumor mill went around that they were sluts, that they obviously did something. And, how could you really have been raped? Hand-to-hand combat training. You went to boot camp. You should have known how to fight off your offender. So this is, and then you spill that into civilian life. So we have so many women who are coming out of the military having dealt with this, horrendous. Some of the women, some of my friends went through horrible overseas sexual assaults. And when you talk about reintegrating into civilian life, that's very hard. It's hard to feel like I was trained to protect, but I couldn't protect myself.
Yeah.
And
And I wasn't protected.
right. Not only was I not in a position to protect myself? Well, who can protect yourself from 3 or 4 men? So that just goes out the window, that shouldn't even be expected. But then I wasn't protected in return. My unit, my command, the military did not protect and take care of. And it's only been, in my experience, I mean, I've been dealing with the VA since 94 when I got out. And they're just now really starting to come around to having more services for women. Prior to that, it was, oh, honey, I'm so sorry that you went through that. Well, thank you. Sorry. It wasn't really the counseling services set up, understanding what that does, the levels of trauma that continue, and then how that leads into issues with obesity, issues with drugs, issues with heart, just everything that it stems and moves from, and tracing that back to the root, which is having it planted into your mind for so long that you are merely an object. You are not to be protected. Yeah, it's like I said, I think they're starting to get around, but in terms of trying to make this a little bit better, but not enough. There are still too many women who are dealing with domestic violence and sexual assault who are active duty and have commands who completely sweep things under the rug because, like I said, we don't want that stigma attached to these are real issues that, the military tries to stay. So, it's an entire different world going on to base. People who don't understand, it's a whole. So you're trying to protect that and say, we don't want to go outside that gate. We don't want this to come outside the front gate and have people know this really happens. Yes, this happens on base. Yeah.
As you seem like you have you seem like it's made you stronger. I can imagine only that it has affected you in some way, but did it push you to be stronger? Was there a point when you weren't as strong and it was kind of like, no, I'm gonna fight back? Like, at what point did you get to where you're at now? Because some people are just like strong off the rip, right? Like gay, they just strong and they just like, nah, I ain't gonna take this. I'm not doing it. But were you always like that, or was that like something that you kind of like a resiliency that you had to build up?
Yes and no. I know that coming out of the Corps, thanks to Voc Rehab, I have my undergrad and my graduate degree in social work. So I worked specifically in the areas of domestic violence in the civilian world for a long time. I mean, I worked in kids in group homes and everything too, but I worked primarily with victims of domestic violence. I worked with the offenders, with those with sexual assault. And there's a certain strength and power that comes from speaking your truth. So I absolutely, one of the things I started at my church was talking about the instances that are happening in our community and making that a safe place for people to be able to come to and speak about what's going on. But you never know when the triggers come. I was at a patient first last year getting an x-ray, a chest x-ray for, a million times bronchitis, but in any case. And the tech asked me the question of, she was asking me, did I have any metal on? And I said, no, I didn't. And she actually stuck her hand down my back to feel and see if I had on a sports bra or a regular bra. Even though I told her I'm a whole adult and I told you what I have on, she stuck her hand down my back, and I didn't see it coming. I was assaulted from somebody coming up from behind me, and that triggered me. I mean, it triggered me in a way that I never thought would happen. We're talking 25 years since that incident with me. And I mean, when I got back into the room at patient first, I told him, I said, you need to leave the door open. I had to call one of my girlfriends who's a nurse practitioner, and she had to talk me down. She had to tell me, find 5 things in the room, tell her, help to orient myself. But you never know when those triggers come. And not just being a counselor, but having spent many years sitting on a couch with my good girlfriend that I have a copay with, some things just don't click off that easily. So strong, yes, but there's still a couple chinks in the armor here.
No. Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to piggyback off of what Lisa said. As far as like she believes that they're just now starting to make changes as far as like, helping women, giving them support when it comes to sexual assault. I think that I don't know the difference between the time that she served and the time that I served, but I know through the time that I served, I've witnessed multiple sexual assault cases that, as the comment that you brought up, Lady J, and said BS, I've worked with a lot of, lawyers, great lawyers and court marshals because of sexual assault. Those are the cases that those that may not be the majority of the cases that get swept underneath the rug. I don't know what kind of commands. I mean, a lot of people who served in the military, or you maybe have relatives in the military, they were a part of a specific command. Every command group is very different. Every duty station is very different. Every leadership is very different. So because that might be your experience, doesn't mean that's the vast majority of other women's experiences. And I'm sure if you speak to those victims, they will tell you the opposite of the mindset that you have. Me personally, I saw a NCO get switched over to my unit for already having sexual assault. I know this because I'm a 42 Alpha, which is human resources for the people who don't know. And so we know the history between soldiers. And we went to the field. The first thing I do, myself, witnessed this man while a junior soldier is sitting there on the floor. Her bun was kind of like a little messy. And so a little bit of her hair was like sticking out. And he decided to put his hand and brush her hair back and think it was okay. And she just looked at him stunned. And he did this in front of everybody. And he's just like, oh yeah, I just wanted to fix your hair, and walked off. And so I asked her, hey, what are y'all close like that? Is that okay? And she said, no, that was wrong or whatever. So I approached him, and it was pretty much, you can't approach people about situations like that in front of everybody. It's considered disrespect, and it's you can't directly disrespect the NCO in that manner, especially publicly or wherever the case may be. So there's a lot of politics that go around those situations that people don't talk about. And there were multiple women after her case who, it was a lady going up a ladder in front of one of the vehicles that we had when we was transporting things, and she was trying to get it down, and he put his hands around her waist to say, oh, is this okay? I just wanted to make sure you didn't fall. And it was multiple cases that this had to happen in order for the command to even say or do something about it. So all that to say is that, I mean, I've even know that during one of those field exercises, a junior enlisted soldier had a first sergeant come lay down in her room with her, and she came to me, and we tried to report it, and he didn't get kicked out the military. He just got moved to a different unit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that to the people who don't know, not everything makes it to court martial. Not everything makes it. You gotta understand that these are, especially if you're from a position, you're not in a position of power, you don't necessarily have the necessary means to defend yourself when people have 30 plus years, 20 plus years in the military, who all these guys are their battles that, and then on top of that, they have such a reputation that protects them. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard to say, me as a new soldier, my word means more than this veteran who's been serving for this amount of time. And that may not mean something to you because you believe in the law, that, oh, the law is just and it's fair for everybody, that it doesn't matter what your rank is. But I'm telling you, from a military army mindset, rank and reputation is everything. And a lot of these command groups don't want these things, as Lisa said, to come to light, because they're also protecting their reputation. Because if their reputation is constantly like, oh, my command group and my unit is constantly getting hit up for these cases, that's a bad reflection on them. So the best way for them is, as a lot of people know, is the common phrase is handle it at the lowest level. And for them, they're thinking, oh, this is the best way to handle it, because it's like, oh, this is the way we don't make it a big fuss, while at the same time they're silencing these victims who are coming to them with these problems. So I just want to piggyback off of what Lisa said.
Yeah, that's true. The person that, and I'm looking at the time, so I know there's like 40 seconds, 30 seconds. The person that I reported that assaulted me from behind, when I went in and told my command, like I said, the first thing they said was, well, boys will be boys. I'm sure he didn't mean to do that. And I said, no, I want to file charges. I want to file charges for assault. He touched me inappropriately. I do not know that man like that. I barely know his name, and I did not ask for that to happen. And I was called into my executive officer's office, and it was 3 of my higher command and him sitting in a chair, and they told him to just apologize. And they said, I mean, you don't want to ruin his career because of what he did to you. And he sat back with a smirk, and he was like, I'm sorry you didn't like what I did. I didn't mean for it to be offensive. I didn't think that it would bother you. What? And they actually told me, like, you don't want to ruin this man's career. Well, I don't really care about his career. What I care about is him acknowledging and taking responsibility, and you protecting me as a person who was touched in a way that I did not ask. And that's when you say exactly that things get swept under, then it's just like, well, what do? I'm sitting in a room with 4 men telling me, let it go.
If I could, so Tonio, we cool. Me and you is cool, right? Me is cool. Me and you is cool. You said if the name came to my desk, you was gonna get it. But again, you're speaking solely based upon the person that you are or that you were in the military. Mm-hmm. You said if you see something, say something. A lot of times, as Craig said, like when you're in those ranks matter, and they don't care. Like, and I wasn't in, and I get it. And a lot of people like to be like, oh, well, you don't know because you were never a service member. That's okay. But I was married to somebody for 13 years as a service member. And I watched and I listened and I saw the things that happened and that were said and that were done where you don't get to say stuff at certain commands. You don't get to voice your opinion. Not everybody was who you were. I 1000% commend you for being the service member that you were when you were in. But what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to military service is that a lot of people who are in don't get to have that say so. Lisa was stripped of that say so. Craig was stripped of that say so when it came to like, yo, you touched this chick inappropriately, like you brushed her hair back and you don't even know her like that. Like a lot of people don't grasp that, and I commend you for being that person. But there's a lot of stuff that happens, and that's and like I said, I'm not here to bash, but I feel like that is something that has to be talked about. The fact that like a lot of times y'all are in and y'all can't say nothing. Because why? The sergeant major either don't care. Why? Because they about to get out anyways, or because they want to do it this way, that way, or whatever. So it's just not that easy. It's just not that simple all of the time. So I commend you for being that person. But depending upon the chain of command that you're in, depending upon the unit that you're in, you don't always get that. It's a lot of Marines, it's a lot of Army, it's a lot of Air Force, it's a lot of folks who want to do amazing things but can't because they have bad leadership.
That's right.
That's just what it is. Look, we don't have, I don't want to be on for
I
too
just
much.
want to speak for like
No,
30
you're good.
seconds. and
No,
then I'll
you're
be
good.
done. So same with Lisa, my own platoon sergeant, who I thought I was buddies with. We were actually pretty close. And then one time he decided that he was going to get drunk in the field. And there was 2 of us female soldiers. And he came to us and said, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to make sure that your life through the Army is hell. And I said, I thought we were cool. He goes, shut off the cool. I'm now your platoon sergeant again. Do what I say. And I said, no. And then he made up a story saying that I came after him to our first sergeant. And it went to the sergeant major and they said, we can't do anything. We don't want to screw up his career. He's married. They don't give a crap. It's not always pushed to a
It's not
different level.
everyone.
It's not. It's always kept. It is usually kept within that unit. And because I was in the field a lot of it wasn't reported because we were threatened and out
Right.
in the middle of nowhere by ourselves. What are you going to freaking say when you come back?
Right.
Or you can't say something without being threatened. So it's catch-22.
And y'all know me.
Or
I
you don't
do-
even know who it was
Right.
because it was dark and you have
Mhm.
no idea. You just know that
That's where I'm going.
It
From. You have
happened.
no idea where it's coming from. They
exactly.
come up behind you, whisper in your ear, bend over and give me that thing.
Right. Exactly.
and
You know
y'all
you've been looking at me. Well, who the hell are you? And then you can't see who the hell it is.
I don't
It's scary.
generalize. I don't pick. I don't poke. But I know that I've as my time as a spouse, I've been in places where we had amazing leadership and they looked out for us and they took care of us and they made sure like they really held to that family is first. And I know I could sit on here and I could tell y'all a million stories about how there was leadership that because they felt that what they said, not the military, but people that are in leadership, because this is how I feel, this is what's going to go and this is what's going to be said. And because they're in leadership positions, they then take other people and be like, listen, hey, I need you to say this. I need you to do that. And that's what flows and that's what flies. And that's unfortunately a sucky part. There's amazing, good, great aspects. And again, I didn't come to bash military. That wasn't what it is. This was just to bring some light to the many different aspects of being in the military, and showing some of the lives of the people who I have come into contact with amazingly, who have been in the military. And so that's what this is. It's not a bash session. It's not any of that. But I do, y'all know me. If it's lie to yourself, not me. Real talk with Lady J. I'm not about to sit up here and lie about nothing. Miss Lisa, go ahead, lady.
Real quick, I just want to say, I know you're going to put up how to contact for any women out there who are working, veterans who are looking at VA benefits for military sexual trauma, MST. By all means, make sure, send me a message. I have friends that have gone through, and it's especially hard when, like I said, you don't know who it was, you don't know what, but you just know that something happened. And there are ways, buddy statements and things like that that can help. But there are way too many women who are getting denied benefits that need the veterans benefits, not just for the sexual assault, but for the everything else that stemmed from that. And if you can't pinpoint, and the VA does say, well, if you don't have it in your medical record, if you never reported it, we can't do it. And there are ways to do that. So don't be silent. Come forward, do what you need to do, and fight for it. And I will do whatever I can to help anybody who comes. So.
And that's how y'all can reach her. We are unfortunately we're running, we are overtime.
Way over.
We are overtime because I know people's attention span is only so long after a certain while. So Miss Love from Within, we can reach you on TikTok. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So y'all see her at Love from Within. Y'all have seen Miss Lisa. This is how y'all can reach her so that she can give you any information. And as y'all can see, she is more than willing to give you all the information that you need, and she's willing to be helpful. And she listen, she a fighter. Y'all go follow her TikTok. Y'all go follow everybody, but y'all go follow her TikTok. She a fighter. She don't play no games, y'all. She is not for play. Okay, y'all go follow her. She's not for play. That's not what she does. And then we have my friend here, Craig. This is how we can find you, sir. On IG, that's just it. That's all.
Yeah,
Nothing
that's
else?
my IG. Yeah, I'm more, I'm a common man, but as far as like this conversation, this was really important. Me as a veteran, seeing the things I've seen, seeing the paperwork that got pushed in front of me, that even if I felt like it was wrong, I had to push forward based off of my command. I just felt like I had to be here for this conversation. So just know that my IG has nothing to do with this type of conversation that we're having. But if you want to reach out to me as a veteran because you either want to vent or you want to talk about something that I can do or people I can connect you with to help you, I'm all there for that. So.
Awesome. And Jonathan, we can reach you on IG and TikTok at.
It's both the same, and also like with comment, I have to like if I said that right, if I didn't, sorry, but if I especially like to add to like what Neat asked about earlier, stories, experiences differ, but I have a thing where we're supposed to be let's connect instead of disconnect, because even as soldiers, even as military, we got stories of all sorts. But then so let's let's educate ourselves and not try and top one story over another, trying to look better for whatever, So I just thought I'd mention that. But anyways, my door is always open. In fact, in the chat, I'm gonna leave like my phone number, so just even offer that avenue, offer that resource, especially for me, someone that's serving in the Army. But I like to think I'm a lot more than Sergeant First Class. I'm a lot more than a unit that I'm in, or even like a lot more than than a soldier. I'm a lot more than the metrics, the formations, the duty, the classroom, my students, my cadre, any of that. So hey, I'm here. My door's open. So let's take it onward and upward from there.
And then we have Mr. Ralph, Mr. Ray this evening, where you can find him.
Exactly. Black Hawk 96 on TikTok. I originally got on this platform to be a voice and a sounding board for people to, especially veterans, to vet and to reach out and let them know what actual veterans benefits are able to them, because of the position I was put in when I started working at the school. And just to be a school certified official, a lot of people came to me like I was actually a VA representative. So I had to get real smart on certain things so that I could tell people about all things that VA offers. And like I said, va.gov and the VA Facebook page is going to be your best friend. Like I said, these are things that you can look up on your smartphone as you're continuing your business out throughout the day and stay in the know.
Awesome. So y'all know, and I'm looking for mine. I can't seem to find my own, but y'all know for me, did I delete it? Sheesh. Y'all know for me, where does my mind live? On
TikTok.
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 Is my I stay on TikTok religiously and I can't find my dang on own doggone banner for TikTok. But for TikTok, y'all can find me at Lady J1111. I have quite a few that you can find me on. You can find me on IG at LadyMan2008. For my Facebook, it's my Govy, y'all. It's my Govy, Jamais Man. That's how you say it, Jamais. Just in case y'all was wondering. And then I also have a Twitch, which is Lady J _1111. And I think I still forgot to put up my my YouTube, which is just Lady J. I hope that you guys enjoyed the show. Fun facts, because I got to hit y'all with a fun fact, because y'all know that's my thing. Miss Lisa has got me hip to this idea that I think what I'm going to do is start doing some pop-ups on StreamYard, on YouTube and Facebook, where every once in a while throughout the week, maybe we'll have some conversations and we'll kind of do like a catch-up on past shows and past comments and topics. So I hope that you guys will be looking out for those things. If you guys go to my TikTok and you hit me up in the profile, click the link, share. I hope that y'all will follow all of my friends that are here. I thank y'all for joining us this evening. Thank y'all so much to my friends that came on and joined me tonight for the conversation about military lifestyle, because I feel like it is important, even though I'm not really in the military lifestyle anymore. It is an important topic to me because I think more people should know more about it. So thank y'all for y'all time, because y'all know time is important to me. Y'all know time is important to me. So thank y'all. Bring it around town. If all y'all would try to like bring it around town with me, y'all gonna bring it around town. Y'all gotta bring it around town. There it is. Bring it around town, y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for joining me. I appreciate y'all. Y'all were so awesome. Thank you so much. I thank y'all. Have a great night, and we'll see y'all next Friday.
All right.
We'll see y'all next Friday. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
All right.